G'day guys and gal. No one quite knows how to tease like Games Workshop. They introduce amazing, super interesting stuff into the lore that has a ton of potential plot points and lore implications before then just throwing it off a bridge with some cement tied to its feet. The Loyal Clone of Fulgrim is the biggest example of this. Fabius literally creating the perfect Primarch clone of Fulgrim, Fulgrim without the baggage, the Fulgrim that could have been if there was no layer blade, but then proceeded to lock him in Trezin's museum where he will never be mentioned again. But what if Fulgrim slipped the noose and escaped from Fabius? What if he reached the Imperium, reached Guilliman or the Lion? Would he be accepted or killed on sight? What would his goal be? Who would he hunt? How would he redeem himself? After all, if GW isn't going to give us a satisfying Clonegrim story, then you bet your ass I will. Before we get started, this is your last chance to pick up the 2024 cosplay calendar before it's gone for good. I'm not sure how much I can show on YouTube, but what I can tell you is that this was a labor of love that took almost a year to organize and put together. 11 or 12 if you get the legendary edition, stunning cosplays with 6 beautiful models. Damn right I'm beautiful. We've already sent out the first few hundred with thousands more ready to go, including the legendary editions that will go out mid next week. There's A4, A3, digital, the choice is yours. Trust me when I say this, the photos are works of art, even your imaginary girlfriends would respect it. I know mine does, since I broke up with the real one yesterday. Yeah, she wasn't too stoked about me getting naked as a part of one of the month's cosplays, but it was for a good cause. And there's only a weekend left before the A4s and A3s are done as well. Just like the 2023 calendar, I will not be bringing this bad boy back. Just like how you'll never see the Necron or Talbrus from last year's, you will not see Dante's or the avatars from this year's. If you can't tell, I really want you to buy this. I put a lot of work into it and I'm actually pretty proud of it. Link is below. Cheers to over the 1,000 of you who have already picked up theirs. Today we'll go over what would happen if Clonegrim escaped Fabius and attempted to rejoin the Imperium. As this is pretty open-ended, we can also explore a number of potential ways this would go. Also, once again, shout out to the amazing Alex Christie for the commissioned artwork for this video. As always, this channel features the best fucking commissioned art and I will fight anyone that says otherwise. Now let's get into it. Let's set the scene. Fulgrim has been traveling with and serving Fabius, seeing Fabius as his father figure. As in canon, he swears to right the wrongs of his now demonic self and make amends. Interestingly enough, as a clone, he retains the memories of what he was cloned from, meaning he remembers the fall to chaos he had, but without the layer blade. He finds it disgusting. However, despite this, Fabius begins to get worried about his Clonegrim and his pride, believing his creation will end up following the same path of the true Fulgrim and making shit bad, as the galaxy would end up with 2 rape snakes, something not even Fabius was cool with. However, in this tale, Clonegrim senses something is wrong and is able to avoid Trezin's stasis beam. He uses his blinding speed to begin to flee, shocked at Fabius's betrayal. Trezin activates his capture protocols that he uses for escaped exhibitions, but this is a fucking Primarch he is dealing with. Fulgrim had a very intelligent, inventive, and analytical mind before he became a junkie. It was a big reason why he and Ferris became so close. He is able to analyze the Necron tech around him and interpret it, looking out for traps or oncoming enemies. He would fight his way through the Necrons and reach Fabius's ship. Fabius would be standing there, blocking his path. Fabius would say, "My son, I did this for the good of the galaxy. You are falling down the same path as Fulgrim. You would have become damned and joined him in hell, blighting the galaxy with not 1 but 2 demon Fulgrims. I cannot allow it." Clonegrim would square up to his father and say, "That is not your choice to make, father. I will make amends. I will make things right." Before Fabius could reply, Clonegrim moves at blinding speed, bisecting Fabius and running past his dying body. As Fabius can transfer his consciousness to new hosts, he isn't too bothered by this, but it means Clonegrim can make good on his escape. He leaves Trezin's museum tomb world with a crew of new men in tow, them being loyal to him as they became friends as Fabius's creations, and also because Fulgrim is extremely hard not to love, especially the uncorrupted version. I mean, fuck, even Conrad Curse liked him. With his escape secured, Clonegrim knew he needed resources to make things right. He would need to purge the corruption from the Emperor's children, slay his original self, and make up for the pain he has caused. He could either try to do this from the shadows, creating a renegade sub-faction working against chaos but hiding from the Imperium, or he could face judgment and try to convince the Imperium of his allegiance. The boring option is to wage the guerrilla war, as he would gather a number of Space Marine chapters to him and strike out against the Emperor's children raids in an attempt to eventually lure or reach the original Fulgrim, which to be fair wouldn't be that hard, as the Slaaneshi demons once said that Fulgrim would be very mad if he found out that he had a perfect uncorrupted clone. So let's go with the fun option, facing Guilliman himself. Fulgrim would need to get on a solid warp-capable craft, likely a rogue trader, traitor. He would track down a rogue traitor and use his new men to make contact. They would convince the curious traitor to meet with their master. The rogue traitor would meet Clonegrim and be confused, terrified, and fascinated. Clonegrim would use his Primarch aura and intense charisma to convince the rogue traitor of his cause. The traitor would eventually agree and take him to Terra. The rogue traitor would also fill Clonegrim in on the events of the galaxy, such as the return of Guilliman and the Great Rift, as well as the fall of Cadia and everything else worth knowing. Clonegrim would be shitting bricks. What should he say to the brother he killed? The brother who hates him with every fibre of his being. Fulgrim was seen as the most depraved degenerate there was. Clonegrim realizes he cannot ask for an audience, as his ship would either be destroyed or taken, him thrown in chains and seen as some kind of trick or warpcraft, likely to be executed or locked away forever in the dark cells. No, he needed to have an audience with Guilliman alone. He would arrive in the Sol system and send private messages to Guilliman, keeping his identity a mystery, but insinuating he was a lost loyalist Primarch, return to the fray but requesting a private meeting. He would share things that only Guilliman had shared with his brothers, stuff that he maybe said in the presence of Fulgrim amongst other Primarchs, or stuff Fulgrim had heard from his brothers. Clonegrim would request that due to the unstable Imperial situation, it needed to be a private meeting. Guilliman would agree. Now you might think I'm a bit retarded for saying G-Man would be down, but you gotta remember that in current lore, Guilliman is really fucking depressed and he longs for his lost brothers. He often thinks about them and wishes they would return, so for a chance to meet another one he would jump at it. Guilliman arrives at the meeting point. Clonegrim approaches in a cloak. Guilliman can't quite make out who it is, maybe the lion with the long light hair. Then Clonegrim removes the cloak and falls to his knees. He only manages to say, "Brother," before Guilliman is charging, Emperor's sword alight with flame. Guilliman swings the sword for Clonegrim's neck. Clonegrim looks at him in the eyes, unflinching. If this is how he is to meet his fate and make atonement, then so be it. Just as the sword falls to end Clonegrim's life, Guilliman looks his brother in the eyes. They stare at each other for a second. Guilliman seeing the eyes of his true, uncorrupted brother, eyes he hadn't seen for over 10,000 years, free of malice or corruption. The sword stops a flick of a dick of away from Clonegrim's neck, Clonegrim letting out a barely perceptible breath. Guilliman says with clenched teeth, "What is this? Who are you? Why can I not even sense any corruption upon you?" Clonegrim would explain himself, his creation, his memories, and his desire to make amends. The fact that without the Layer Blade there is no corruption, and that he is ready to take the head of the original Fulgrim. Now Primarchs are pretty good at detecting lies and falsehoods, especially when they're staring into each other's eyes. Rabute summons forth his librarians who scry Clonegrim's mind, Clonegrim letting them in without resistance. They confirm his story. Then the Sisters of Silence are brought in, and they impose their full blankness upon Clonegrim, yet he remains as he is, since if he was the changeling or some kind of warp spawn, he wouldn't be able to maintain his facade in their presence. Guilliman is torn on what to do. He is a returned loyal brother, but it's fucking Fulgrim. He decides that Clonegrim must stand in front of their father, as he has, in order to know Clonegrim's purpose. The Custodians are initially against this, but the Emperor himself tells them to allow the audience via their dreams. Clonegrim is taken to the Emperor, the biggie sparkling to life in a flurry of energy and emotion. Clonegrim feels his father's rage, disgust, loss, pain, regret, sorrow, but most powerful of all, hope. Hope that his lost sons can be returned to him and redeemed, that his vision for mankind isn't entirely lost. Clonegrim has become this unexpected variable. However, the Emperor sees that the galaxy will not rest while there are two true Fulgrims. One must be destroyed. The Emperor tasks Clonegrim with this goal, to slay his original self and in doing so, redeem himself and the memory of his legion. To aid him, the Emperor gives Clonegrim two things. First is his bolter, each bullet containing the power to permanently slay a demon, and he also conjures forth a flaming anguish dreadnought, Rylanor reborn, to act as Clonegrim's living weapon and a reminder of his purpose. Should Clonegrim stray from his path, Rylanor would be there as the Emperor's avatar to destroy him. Yes, I know that's a stretch, but fuck you, Rylanor is dope, and him returning for this what if is a must. Guilliman tells Clonegrim that while he wishes him luck, he cannot announce him to the Imperium or directly aid him, as it would cause too much chaos and controversy. However, Guilliman does say that upon looking at Imperial records, there are at least two chapters he should look into contacting, the Death Eagles and Sons of the Phoenix. The Death Eagles being founded by Emperor's children loyalists who survived the heresy, with the Sons of the Phoenix appearing to be Belsarius Kull having a bit of a laugh and using Emperor's children gene seed to create loyalist Primaris chapters. Perhaps other chapters using Emperor's gene seed would also be uncovered. Clonegrim would unite them in purpose, his own micro-legion setting off. His goal would be to lure Slutgrim out of his eternal masturbation in order to try perma-kill him with the Emperor's bolt gun. This is where the story could branch off in a million ways. Honestly, it would make for a great fucking series. Clonegrim striking out against the corrupt Emperor's children, the Emperor's children being shocked that their gene father is attacking them at the head of a loyalist army. Eidolon would strike back and create an interesting conflict, similar to the Lion's new novel, Son of the Forest, where he unites the Fallen to take on Seraphax, a Chaos Sorcerer Fallen, but this time it's Clonegrim taking on Eidolon. It would actually be such a therapeutic story. Traitor Emperor's children are such pieces of shit. Every time one of them dies or is humiliated, I literally cum my pants. Imagine Clonegrim taking on and killing Eidolon via decapitation. That would be so poetic. He can then take on Lucius, Julius Caesar, and so on, purging his legion of its guilt and taint until they are reborn, like the motherfucking phoenix. Maybe in their journey they even encounter the Lion, a tense greeting, but with the Lion also wishing to make amends for his mistakes and aiming to be less aggressive, it could end quite wholesomely. It would end with Clonegrim vs Fulgrim, with Rylendor getting to stare his traitorous father in the face one last time. I won't say who I think would win or who should win. That would defeat the fun. Would Clonegrim vanquish his original form, pumping him full of righteous lead and becoming the redeemed Fulgrim? Or would the original Fulgrim triumph, claiming the soul of his clone and sending Rylendor back to the warp, ending the road of redemption for the Emperor's children and re-entering the setting as a wrathful being dedicated to the destruction of the Imperium? It's just a damn shame that Josh Reynolds, the creator of Clonegrim, said he was just used as a plot point for Fabius and he would never return. Josh would then go on to leave the Black Library. But in saying that, GW does love money, so maybe one day they will dust off Clonegrim and let him out of his cell, giving us the most epic comeback story in all of Warhammer 40k. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then pick up a cosplay calendar. After all that talk about Fulgrim the Emperor's children, there is no way you don't want to stare at tits right now. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the real subscribe button for more redeeming content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.